Welcome everyone to our May webinar where we're going to talk about understanding the global impact of DORA. This is our May webinar, which is the fourth in the series of our Resilience by Design learning series, which you can attend monthly and on demand. And if you attend each of those, whether live or virtually, you can earn your Resilience by Design learning badge at the end of the year. For this series of webinars, we're looking at much more of a focus this year on operations. So in February, we talked about how do you determine the context of your resilient strategy. In March, we looked at operating as an agile organization and how you build more agile and flexible systems. In April, we talked about implementing a systems approach to managing risk. And for the remaining webinars, we're going to be looking at specific parts of the operation. So today we're going to look at the information and cybersecurity regulation of DORA. Next month, we're going to look at the crisis management and communication capabilities. In July, our business continuity management systems. In August, we're going to look at our technology systems. In September, our supply and value chains. In October, our security systems, and we'll finish up in November with the impact of geopolitical risk on your operations. So as you can see, this year's focus is very much on operations. Today, we're very honored to have Guru Avinash, who is an ICOR instructor as well as training partner out of India. He is also a partner in Velvian Technologies Limited, and they specialize in areas related to IT security, risk and control, GRC, BCDR, operational resilience, and also for responsible AI compliance frameworks. He has more than 15 years of experience in the tech industry and has served as a consultant and SME for major global clients such as Intuit, Symantec, Honeywell, Aventur, Goldman Sachs, Voya Financials, Disney, Alcon Labs, Gatehouse Bank, Shell, and ASML, and he's currently working for Google Cloud as a technical program manager. He also achieved ICOR Certified Organizational Resilience Executive Certification in June of 2021, becoming the first professional certified in the EMA region. So like we shared, today's focus is on understanding the global impact of DORA. Guru is going to start with a brief history of that Digital Operational Resilience Act. Then he's going to look at the key objectives, scope, and provisions, including what's the purpose, what are the expected outcomes, what are the roles and responsibilities, specifically the impact to financial entities as well as third parties, and conclude with enforcement, looking at deadlines, many of which have already passed, and also some practical next steps. The recording will be available probably not on the webinar page, but this week, but for sure posted on YouTube by Friday. If you have questions going through, use the questions button. We will take a look at the questions at the end of the webinar. And just to remind you that to get a certificate of attendance, you need to attend a minimum of 35 minutes, whether it's today as we're doing this live or via the recording. So let's start with, just to get a little bit of an idea of who is here today. So let's look at what is your role in your organization as it relates to DORA. And in this case, we gave it an choose all that apply. So we'll give you about 30 seconds to answer that question. It looks like most of you are voting. And if you have other, if you don't mind putting in the questions pane, what the other is, because I'm really curious about who's attending today and what kind of information that you're looking for. So we'll give it about 5 more seconds, and then we'll share the results. All right, we have 66 of you are in business continuity or ICT management, which is, of course, directly related to this regulation, as well as the compliance and risk management. Even also, if you're a consultant, this is probably a good place for you to be also for helping companies to do this implementation. But in addition, if you don't mind, in the questions pane, sharing what kind of consulting that you do as well. So at this point, I'm going to hand this over to Guru, and he is going to share his slides. So Guru, right now we don't see the slides yet. So if you could please share your slide deck. We're still waiting to see your screen. Guru, are you there?
Sorry for that. I was talking on mute. Are you able to see my screen now?
Not yet. No, we're still waiting to see your screen. So if you could please share the slides.
Yeah, just give me a quick sec. I am not able to get any pop-up from your end to share my screen. Maybe I will try now.
I'll stop. I'll turn it off and give it to you again. So, all right, now we can see your screen. So we just finished the poll, so feel free to move on to the next slide. And it's all yours, handing it off officially to you. And you are muted again, so if you could unmute yourself. So Guru, we need you to go to the next slide and unmute yourself, please. We need the transition to happen here. Can you go to the next slide, please? All right, and then please unmute, because right now we can't hear you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. It was very interesting to see most of the stakeholders. The participants are joining somewhere related to BCDR in your daily roles and responsibility. And thank you for joining today for the DORA Resilience webinar. So let me quickly give you a small brief history on the Digital Operation Resilience Act. It was officially informed on 2022. It is a European Union regulation passed by the European Union. It requires the financial entities to improve their digital operation resilience, which is the scope. So it may be any company which is dealing with a huge stake of capital or financial and banking institution. So even if the company is not into financial and banking, if they are from insurance, if they are oil and gas, but they deal with a large amount of money, they are involved. Any organization which is in transaction with capital. So the objective is to standardize and strengthen the digital resilience across the European Union's financial sector to address fragmented cybersecurity rule. So part of this EU's digital finance package, we also have MICA and AI Act in parallel, enacted in 2023. So the direct applicability is for all the European member states, and it is effect on from 17 January 2025. So codifying DORA is viewed as essential to secure financial health of an organization. DORA builds an already established regulatory foundation of managing the risk within the ICT. Interesting note about DORA, it is very similar. They have derived some of the controls from the NIST framework, and also someone working from the US region on the FBA, the Federal Banking Agency. You could see a lot of coincidence between two of these controls and the ask and expectation. So the 60% of financial institutions faced a cyber incident in 2024. 73% of financial firms rely on third-party support for any of their technical function, application delivery, or any of their works in their daily part of their life. And also they have fourth party and fifth party, where the third party itself goes to another company to help in getting their task done. And 58% of cyber incidents originated from the supply chain, as per the report from the IBM. And the third-party risk management is crucial. I would give you an example for a recent cyber breach which happened with Marks and Spencer retailers in United Kingdom. They had a massive breach, and the root cause of the breach have been revealed a couple of days ago that it was due to their third party. So you could imagine the importance of having such compliance during this new normal time just after a couple of years from COVID. Because from the COVID time, we had a lot of state-sponsored attack and cyber breaches increased among companies. And also, you can notice that banks have moved 15% of workload to the cloud in 2022, which was double that from 2021 as per Accenture's report. And by 2025, cyber attacks on financial systems alone are projected to cost USD 10.5 trillion annually. Today, we will explore how the EU DORA Act is reshaping to fight against this type of threats. And here we have the industries with highest average device risk, not only the financial firm, as I said in the last slide. Yes, any organization dealing with a huge capital is supposed to adhere with DORA. And there is also a misconception that DORA is only for companies operating out of European Union region, but not. It is also some organization which may deal with, which are dealing or which may deal with European customers, even though they don't have presence in European region, similar to the DORA, similar to the GDPR. While the financial industry and those who support financial industry are currently the target of DORA, all industries should comply, consider implementing DORA requirements to protect their organization from the cybersecurity risk. And now we are going to view why the DORA matters globally. As I said, I gave you a hint, as a regulatory standard evolving, the global organization will need to implement similar practices to ensure comprehensive resilience. Two reasons why cybersecurity professionals in the US, as well as anywhere else in the world, maybe Canada, Australia, New Zealand, or any corner of Asia like the Middle East, Hong Kong, or Singapore, should be closely watching the DORA. And the reason is going to be followed. The business activity in Europe. You may be having a business customers, end users, your clients, or any of your stakeholders operating out of Europe. If your business has operations or subsidiary or parent company in Europe, or if you have work in one of these 22 industries impacted by the DORA, the 22 industries I have shown you even in the previous slide, you will need to access the risk across your digital supply chain. This involves mapping not only your vendors, but also your subcontractors and every subsequent link in the chain. So when you onboard your contractors for carrying out your task, you must have a due diligence on them. Or if you onboard a SaaS product, if you are going to go for any cloud hosted services from IaaS or PaaS, then you should be also considering this. To increase your professional value, it does gives you a reputational values and impact using the DORA as a framework to categorize and map your functions and vendors via criticality, which may give you deep insights into your business and its potential risk. With the wealth of information, you will well equipped to engage the C-suites and board in meaningful discussion about risk. You may involve your CTO, CISO, and your board members, executive directors, helping them to focus on their energy on the company's strategic goal. Always the top to bottom approach would be valuable takeaway for the organization to derive values, set an objective. You could have also seen this similar in ISO 22301 and ISO 27001. Your management drives you objective and goals for having such a program. And the key objective of the DORA is harmonized fragmented ICT risk management framework across the European countries, mitigate systematic risk posed by third-party ICT dependencies, example, cloud providers, and then foster collaboration via threat intelligence sharing. And then the key objectives is the financial entities, banking, as I said, insurance, investment firms, payments, e-money, crypto asset providers, and any of this credit referencing agency and all the others listed over here. I don't want to spend so much of reading in it. You can see the companies which are in scope. So the core principle of it is also being followed. The scope of organization impacted by DORA is also non-financial entities. Yes, ICT providers, investment firms, crypto asset firms, maybe also cloud providers are covered, are watched and scrutinized by the DORA regulators like EBA, the European Banking Authority. This could be an interest as a service provider, ISSI cloud, telecom, and also any outsourcing companies providing and giving services. You can imagine why the DORA or the FBA, which is very close relevance to DORA in the US, are scrutinizing the cloud service provider is because the banking and financial companies are adopting digital transformation via their cloud provider from AWS or Azure or the Alibaba, any cloud, who are the primary market leader, the Azure, AWS, GCP, and Alibaba. They are operating for many of the services, BFSI, and majorly you can see a transformation nowadays. Even banks are migrating into cloud. And the essential steps should already be done because we also have passed the 2025 January deadline. You should identify and map critical services, establish impact tolerances, and perform penetration testing and run exercises with lessons learned. A very interesting note here, if you consider penetration testing, when I read this DORA last year, the requirements, I was able to literally sense myself why there is a penetration testing in place to find the vulnerabilities or any threats in your system. This was also mandated in PCI DSS, if you can relate, if you guys have done any PCI DSS audits or implementation or training programs. They also emphasizes VAPT, and that is also many of the payment company providers has to adhere for the PCI DSS. And essential steps to comply with DORA, accessing your policies, procedures, and controls against the DORA regulation. Obviously, the major part is to access third-party contractors for alignment with the risk and impact on operational resilience. And as I have already given you a hint, in a futuristic point of view, you should also have your third party, fourth party, fifth party. This is something which is very unique. When you give your outsourcing to third party, they may need the help of fourth party to carry on their operation. So you should do the due diligence. The operations which you are giving you, are you the standalone provider of those services, or are you going to use third party? Are you going to use the fifth party? And then you should map the important functions of your business, map the suppliers that support each function, map the subcontractors, chain supporting each of their critical third-party suppliers. So you should be analyzing which of your important business functions has been outsourced to which supplier. The outcome will give you cyber practitioners as a clear understanding of risk vendors pose, including a combination of criticality and sensitivity of data to which vendors have access to which data. And followed, the operational resilience in the US started since begin the 2008 financial collapse in the US operational resilience industry has become a crucial area of compliance, and the important strategic value for companies started since then. Cyber risk has also been expanding. In 2023, the SECP in the US has changed notification requirement. Public companies are required to make disclosure within 4 business days. And it's going to be slightly different from the DORA. Since the breach, you have a different SLA, which we are going to talk about in a while in the next slides. So sound practices to strengthen operational resilience. guidance or direction organization to follow, the FFIEC, the Cybersecurity Assessment Tool. This is conducted by the Federal Banking Agency in the US, and the NIST, and then the Center for Internet Security Critical Security Control, the Financial Services Sector Coordinating Council Cybersecurity Profile. I will give you an interesting note here. There are similar regulators in India, the RBI, and in UK, the FCA, Federal, yeah, similar to the federal agencies, banking agencies. And you can see very much a resemblance on their ask and expectation, in very much uniformity. Okay, now I would like to have your thoughts, share what you think so or what doesn't. So the DORA in the EU is answer to the systematic cyber risk. If your system went down today, could you recover without disrupting the market? Linda, will you be able to open the poll?
It is started. You just can't see it because you're the presenter.
Perfect.
So we'll give about, well, since this is an easy one, we'll give you about 5 more seconds to answer.
Sure. Yeah.
All right, let me share the screen. It is pretty encouraging to see more than 50% of you think that you would be able to recover. Then an additional 26% says maybe, and then there's always the sadness of we don't think so with about 19%. But these are really important for you. I mean, it seems like a straightforward question, but the question is an important one for you to be able to answer because it does share then where are you within the spectrum of getting prepared. So I'm going to go ahead and close that poll, and it is back to you.
Yeah. So there is no right or wrong answer to this. The balanced approach would be maybe. It depends on how we have the security controls aligned with our organization, how we are monitoring. There is no 100% prevention from threats with any of our controls, but we do continuous improvements to adhere them. And regulations like DORA gives us an encouragement and adherence or compulsion to do it. We don't have any business justification for most of the controls here, unlike the ISO 27001. Okay, so now we are going to quickly view key pillars of DORA: the ICT risk management, ICT related incident reporting, operational resilience testing, the digital operation resilience testing, ICT third-party risk management, information sharing arrangements. So the ICT risk management can be anything from your ICT readiness for BC, and then incident reporting is also the second, and the fifth one is closely tied. If in case you have a breach, you should be notifying the regulators like EBA within the SLA, which we will be viewing in the next slides. And the digital operation resilience testing includes your BCDR testing, the third one, and also the vulnerability assessment and pen testing. And the third party due diligence is the fourth one, and the fifth one is information sharing. You should identify a POC from your organization, from the crisis communication team, who would be mature enough to communicate to the regulators in case of bad events, unforeseen events. And ICT risk management, establish and maintain a robust internal governance framework for managing ICT risk. It also covers identification, protection, detection, response, and recovery process, requires regular risk assessments, policies, controls, and business continuity planning. You can also adopt from your pre-existing ISMS and BCMS in case you had a recent evidences to disclose with. And then ICT related incident reporting. It's very standard approach to reporting major ICT incidents to the national regulators. It's an obligation included in the DORA guidance to have a timely notification with the root cause analysis and post-incident reviews, which you should keep them posted up to date. And it aims to enable supervisory awareness and coordinated response to disruption. So the prime agenda of this is learnings of each other organization. You saw some word called harmonize. Harmonize is nothing but how we are going to share each other and being friendly to each other by disclosing what happened and how did you respond. So your similar competitor is also being ready by seeing you being into it. And then key pillars of DORA layers are here. So the layer one determine incidents affected critical services, determine if the incident is a result of a malicious intrusion, which you could have not noticed for some time. Sometimes you also have from the code review, code development before the launch of the product. Determine whether the incident impacts at least two of the following: number of clients affected, amount of data loss affected, reputational impact, duration and service downtime, geographical spread of the impact, economical impact, or financial impact your organization had. So quickly, I would add a point to it. You can have your offline backup or immutable storage, which could isolate your system so that the impact getting spread to this number of clients or amount of data could be more betterment if you have such controls. Also, a clean room, having a clean room would be allowing you to have a last layer and on transit unrest data where the data will be rest and it is not dynamic. Okay, coming back to more on the time for reporting the incident. I gave you a hint. The SLAs are different from the other regulators. It is very serious consideration by the EBA for the companies to report within 4 hours and no later than 24 hours after they are detected. If in case this happens, a major ICT related incident also needs an intermittent report within a week of first notification and final report with root cause analysis no matter than 1 month. If you are not adhering to this, you can be subject to a penalty clause, a sanction with fines that can amount similar to GDPR, 2% of an organization's total annual world over turnaround, or 3 times the profit a financial entity has made because of the rule of the violation. This is very huge, unimaginable. Nobody would take the risk. So if prevention is better than such a huge breach or massive action taken by this regulator. So I would ask the participant to carefully review your SLEs. And then the third pillar of the DORA is testing, which is also threat-led penetration testing, TLPT, which your blue team, red team, purple team, all of them combine together, analyze the vulnerabilities and threat within your system. This ensures the systems are prepared to withstand sophisticated cyber attacks and failures. Also, your SIM also could give you more visibility on your cyber posture of your organization. You can use maturity model index, where you started your security implementation, where does your current security posture, how it could look in the future. But here they have not much emphasized on SIM. The more concentration similar to the PCI DSS is given on threat-led penetration testing, which is similar to your VAPT. And the key pillar, fourth pillar, is ICT third-party risk management. Strong requirements have been emphasized for managing your risk from outsourced ICT services, example, your cloud provider, your SaaS provider, or where your data center is hosted out of. And then you maintain a register of third-party providers and access service criticality as part of your due diligence on your third-party provider. This introduces EU-level oversight for critical ICT third-party providers. And then sharing information arrangement. Information sharing arrangement encourages voluntary cyber threat intelligence sharing among financial entities, promotes collaborative defense against evolving threats and systematic risk, must also follow data protection and confidentiality, the CAA, as per the GDPR compliance. Here, I would pause to give you a quick tip. Make sure that you don't rush for a minor impact. Don't go to your regulators and nudge them that you are being in a breach. Maybe you have to just analyze before you take a call to communicate with them. Maybe you can self-contain them rather than widespread. Once you get your, for example, you get your CrowdStrike alert, maybe you have some mitigation strategy, better controls that you are able to self-contain within your organization, that it is not a serious impact. But if it is not within your hand, then you have to literally go and inform where your identified POC from the crisis communication team. And also, there are 5 pillars. I would like to hear from you the biggest challenge for your implementation too on these 5 pillars which we have discussed.
Yeah, and here we're making you choose just one. So think through this about which, if you've already done this, what was the biggest challenge? And if it's something that you're starting, what do you think will be your biggest challenge? And we'll give you about 5 more seconds. All right, let me share the results. So this is interesting. I mean, I would have guessed that the third-party risk management would be the most difficult piece, because some people don't even know who their third parties are. We see this all the time with supply chain risk. That's the biggest risk, is companies don't even know who their third and fourth layer suppliers are. But I'm also curious that that the information sharing arrangements got 20%, where I would have thought that the testing would actually be lower. So it's kind of interesting. Do you have any feedback on that, Guru, on what you on the numbers there?
Definitely. So the ICT risk management is a regular part of our organization with our existing security system managements. And the incident reporting, we nowadays have a very good tool as well. You can automate your services, and the digital operation resilience testing, you could have already been performing your BCDR testing and vulnerability assessment and pen testing as well. But I would also, similarly to Linda, align with, but still it's my opinion, it shares with different experience among the participants, but I would really emphasize the ICT third-party risk management, because this is something external, comparing all the other pillars which are not out of our control, within our internal control. And information sharing can be also tested part of your quality testing, or it can also be tested with any of your similar emergency or crisis PCP related testing as well. Interesting. And let me go to the next slide. I have a case study how a mid-sized EU bank could avoid a 2 million penalty by overhauling third-party contractors. Similarly, I give you another case study example in between the Marks and Spencer. Linda, maybe we can give them the reference link post this webinar.
It's on the reference. It's on the reference slide at the end of the presentation that we'll also share when we send out your certificates.
Yeah, fantastic. And also, the NIS2 can be taken as a reference to implement the DORA. They have a good standard supporting guidelines on implementing your DORA. Yeah, on the next slide, the roles and responsibilities. Interestingly, as I said, the top to bottom approach on implementing your DORA, it's up to an organization culture, and specifically it's an advantage for deciding to have a deriving or steering committee from the board and senior management who are accountable for your ICT risk and compliance, and approves resilience policy and strategy, ensures resources oversight, and does the governance part. And then we have our operational teams, the ICT risk management, who develop the ICT risk framework. They implement controls and continuity measures. As I have given you a previous example, you can also use your BCMS classes or your ISMS control related to DORA. So overseeing the testing and risk monitoring, and then the compliance and internal audit. You could have seen the 3-line or 4-line of defenses within your organization, which it aligns well with. So the audit team ensures the DORA compliance. It maintains the regular evidences so that if they come back and give you non-conformities, evidences or gaps, you are able to have some sufficient information to quickly close it and give them within the SLAs which they give you to close the gaps and non-conformities. And the business unit leaders, so for each of the departments, can identify ICT critical process, contribute to the business continuity. This is a very critical task you have to consider. You could have guessed now. Business-wise, they could be using different software without your approval. That would be a definite shock. Recently, some of the very big companies had such similar issue with oil and gas, petroleum companies, and also this Mark and Spencer example. And the ICT security and operations, it helps monitoring systems to detect threats. We have wonderful tools nowadays to have our threats detected and to respond incidents, run vulnerability scans, and the threat-led pen testings. And then we have third-party management, and we can maintain a vendor register, a list of vendors, a repository or inventory for your organization, mapping which are all the services you have outsourced to your vendors, and it includes audit and exit clauses in the contract, monitor concentration and performance, and also due diligence on fourth and fifth parties which they use to get the job done. And then legal and data protection, the DPO should or must align with GDPR and legal reporting duties. They should also oversee secure info sharing practices. And here we have smaller firms there are myths that smaller firms may not need advanced threat-led pen testing. The size doesn't matter. It all depends on the nature of the organization, the scale or requirements to the organization size, complexity, and risk profile. Maybe if you're too small, the TLPT is not applicable for you, but you should be carefully evaluating the size of your organization and the landscape of your business to opt in or opt out of this threat-led pen testing. So large and systematic institutions must have more stringent testing and governance check because of the nature of business they deal with. And another proportionate on this is smaller firms are exempt. No, the smaller firms are not exempt from DORA. Every financial entities are in scope, regardless of size or complexity, must comply with DORA's core requirement. For example, I'll give you one quick example. There is a very small firm which is emerging or fast-growing SaaS organization, which are having critical information or process of financial entity in their system. They are also in scope for the DORA. And the risk-based implementation, the depth and scale of your measure can be adjusted, but not obligation itself. Example, a small payment firm may not need TLPT, threat-led penetration testing, but still it needs basic ICT risk assessment. As I said, you have to measure whether you need to opt in or opt out. And then incident response plans and secure vendor contracts. And then by this, you have the regulators exempt meaningful compliance. Even simplified framework must be effective, documented, and tailored to your actual risk exposure. So everything documented is more better. And then the enforcement and penalties, the national competent authorities, NCAs responsible for day-to-day supervision and enforcement. ESA, the European Supervisor Authorities, draft technical standard, oversee and govern critical service providers at EU level, fines, the penalties, fines, remediation orders, potential restriction on business activities, zero tolerance stance on major compliance failures could be the result. And then the timeline, as I said in the start of our webinar, published in the 2000, the official journal published on December 2022. The deadline was this year, January, and the start of mandatory compliance. Ongoing technical standards, ESA's final regulatory technical standard and guidelines in 2023 to 2024, advanced testing implementation. Some testing might have extended deadlines up to 2026. And one interesting note I would give here, if you go to the DORA's regulatory website, they also have each of the companies, banking financial companies based out of all the European countries, reporting their current status, how they are progressing with the DORA. Watch for the final RTS from the ESA, the European Supervisory Authority, for detailed obligations as well. And then if in case, if you have not completed 100%, or if you are in middle of implementing, you must also make sure that you do the gap analysis, compare existing ICT cyber risk framework against DORA minimum requirements. Also, on top of this, I gave you another example of considering your existing BCMS and ISMS. I keep imposing this to my stakeholders in my company, previous company as well. And then the governance enhancement, brief the broad and clarify accountability, the responsibility, set up cross-functional DORA steering committee, and then incident reporting framework, document procedures, timelines, and escalation paths, train staff to recognize and classify incidents quickly, and then your third-party due diligence on SLAs, audit rights, data security clauses, identifying your critical providers in supply chain as well is covered here. And then the final one, crucial testing and training, schedule penetration testing and tabletop exercises, provide continuous cyber awareness training across your organization for your internal and external stakeholders. And here I would also add you a bit of stuff. You can very well use your existing vulnerability assessment and pen testing practices for this DORA compliance. So in order to avoid your duplication, also the tabletop exercises which you could have previously performed on your BCM initiative. And the accountability starts at the top. As I said, the top to bottom approach. The broad needs to champion operational resilience, not just sign off on it, just not do the paperwork, but also do it on real practice or marks. DORA compliance is not an IT project. It's a biggest misconception or myth among some of them. It is, even when I read it, I thought it's an IT project. No, if you read the compliance, if you go to their official white papers, then it gives you a very clear objective that it is not only a IT project. Your legal, your financial, your human resource, your technical stakeholders all should have a shared responsibility to give you a win-win situation within an organization. You should also have a risk embed culture. And it's a strategic and enterprise-wide initiative in nutshell. And then there are practical tips for you to coordinate with other regulations, the NIS2, GDPR, or the standards like ISMS, BCMS. This will avoid duplication and ensure synergy among your work. And everything should be documented, as I said previously. Keep records of decision, risk assessment, business impact assessment, and VAPT and independent responses for audit trails. You can also have preparation on your past audits and stay updated. Keep and watch, monitor the ESA publication on final RTS and guidelines. Also involve departments, as I said, legal, compliance, IT, risk, HR, finance, marketing, and whatever you have for training. The DORA isn't just an IT problem. To avoid the biggest misconception. And practical tips, make sure that you have intersects with other framework, which I already emphasized. Again, I would say DORA focuses on operational resilience, but major ICT incidents may also involve personal data breach. Dual reporting obligation requires coordination between DPOs and IT risk teams. Your ITROs and DPOs, they must closely coordinate to get this done. And NIS directive, network and information security, broader cybersecurity regulations covering critical infrastructure. Also, you could have heard about Cyber Resilience Act in Europe. That is also closely intersects with this. And for financial entities, DORA takes precedence precedents, but the key themes includes incident reporting, risk management, alignment. And the clock is ticking. It has already ticked. I would say the deadline has already passed on Q1, the early January 2000. I mean, the mid of January 2025. Full compliance required from then now. No extension, no paced rollouts. Many of them expected it would be a paced rollout, but unfortunately it was disappointing. It didn't work on such a way, not alphabetic order or bunch by bunch. The time needed for risk assessments, policy and contract updates, system testing and training, governance alignment. It's not late. You can also start now to avoid last-minute fire drills. And then use the resources available from the ESAs, ESMA, EIOPA, EBA website, regularly publishing articles and updates, regulatory technical standards, implementation guidelines, your NIS, then national regulators, local supervisory body are publishing tailored guidelines and conducting workshops, so you can engage regularly with them. Conclusion. So the DORA brings a unified mandatory framework for digital operation resilience. A broader accountability lies is crucial and cannot be neglected or ignored. Focusing on robust ICT risk management, incident reporting, testing, and third-party oversight gives you a more grip on completing your targets. And the deadline was again January of 2025. Action needed now to ensure readiness, not too late. And the key takeaway is the DORA is the EU's answer to systematic cyber risk in financial industry and banking sectors. Its global ripple effect demanding proactive alignment, cross-border collaboration, and investment in resilience technologies. Organizations that act will avoid penalties, financial impact, and gain a strategic edge in evolving digital economy. And you can also have these references. Maybe Linda will share you in a while after this webinar.
Yeah, thank you. All of these references we will share with this in the email that we send you with your certificate. And the case study we also added at the bottom there as well, that cyber upgrade. And Guru, can we share your email as well in this, in case people have questions that they'd like to ask you directly?
Oh, sure. Just give me a quick moment.
Well, you can I'll just share it when we send out the certificates, so that way they have it on their email. That would be great.
Yeah, that would be perfect. Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Let me take a while.
Can you go ahead and?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead and move to the next screen. I think.
Sure. That's
I think we do have a minute or two for questions. If anyone has questions, you can use the questions button, I believe, is on the next screen.
Yeah.
There we go. I knew there had to be a cute dog in here somewhere. While we're waiting, while we're seeing if there's any questions, just go ahead and we'll kind of finish out. If you could go ahead and move this, move to the slides. I'll go through the last slides and then we'll come back if there's any other questions.
So don't be hesitant to raise any questions. It was so kind of Linda to give me some time to breathing space for me to decide which email address I have to give you guys for quickly answering you. Here also, we will be very happy to address your questions or something you found was not relevant or you find something different in your mind.
Yeah. Well, while they're thinking, go ahead and move to the next slide.
Yeah.
And just a reminder, I-Corps does have our Certified Organizational Resilience series of courses and certifications for those who want to be a leader in resilience. And you can do that at any of these three levels, the manager, the professional, or the executive. And you can find out more information about that on our website.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's a very interesting program. It covers depth of organizational resilience, which you can consider for your future career growth and upstepping.
Like I said, next month, we'll be talking about increasing the resilience of your crisis management and communications capability. And this webinar will be available in a couple of days on YouTube and our website if you'd like to watch it again, or if you got in late and you'd like to see it from the beginning. As well as the webinars from February, March, and April are already posted for you to be able to see. We thank everyone for attending today. I don't see any questions coming up, so I think we'll resolve for today. And we hope you can join us again next month. And have a good rest of the week. Thanks, everyone. And thank you for our special speaker.
Thank you so much, everybody, for taking the time and considering to attend this DORA. Have a wonderful week ahead. See you soon.
All right. Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.